Scorpio and Scorpio Rising, my lovely Scorpios. In this little podcast episode, we are going to talk about the 2025 forecast for your sign. So if you are Scorpio Rising or Scorpio, this podcast is for you. Now, without further ado, I want to dive right in because the last episodes for the other signs were a bit too long, I would say. So I want to save you from a long episode. And I still want to give you all that you need to know for the year. So here we go. Let's start with the nodal shift. For you, the nodal shift, I think, is going to be a blessing because it will trine and sextile your sign. So the nodes are going to shift from Aries and Libra into Pisces and Virgo. Now, this shift is going to invite you, all of us really, to balance our mystical and intuitive nature with our grounded and earthy qualities. So our Pisces qualities and our Virgo policies, I wanted to say, qualities. Now, for you in particular, you are focusing on your creative self, your creative self-expression. I think romance is going to be a big theme for you this year. Romance, and your children might play a big role too. I mean, if you have them, they are going to play a role in some shape or form. I think what is going to happen is that, obviously, our kids are growing up, right? Every year, no matter how old they are getting older. And I think you will really notice the shift this year. You know, your children, if you have them, are, not moving away from you, but you're going to see their own creative self-expression. They are coming into their own. Now, when we are bringing this back to you, Pisces, the North Node, in your fifth house encourages you to explore your imaginative, intuitive forms of expression. So this could mean maybe you are going to take your hobby to the next level. Maybe you're making it a business. Or maybe you're just dedicating time to a hobby now. I think there might come, I don't know if I want to go there, but I can see new lovers coming into your life, or new love interests. I think this is going to really be a beautiful year for you to really also become clear about what you desire in this area, in the area of love. Clarity is a big topic this year, and we will get to that when I talk about all the other transits. But also here, I think the important thing is that you become clear about what you desire. What you need to release, possibly, is your overly critical tendencies towards group dynamics. And I'm not saying that if you're not a group person, you're not a group person. I'm not saying all of a sudden you better become a group person. But I think it's more like you understanding where you are actually hindering yourself when it comes to certain groups. Maybe, I'll give you an example. Because I've had this experience with someone, or I've observed someone in my life that actually has or had a transit in this area. And the way this unfolded was that person was very critical of certain parts of society, certain groups. And that person had a chance to really, connect with these groups and follow their aspirations, right? But because of the critical outlook, because of the idea of that person had of that group, he was like, no. So that person kind of limited themselves because they thought, oh no, they're not my people. They're not, I don't want to have, I think they are all this and that, or they are all that and that. Before that person even got to know the people in that circle fully. So I think that is kind of the idea here, where you open yourself up. I'm not saying you should just join any group that you come across, but like open yourself up to possibilities. Also career pursuits. That and I know the 11th house is not necessarily the house of career, but it is what we do with our career, right? So now you have your career, you fulfill your purpose, and now what do you do with that, right? You're in it, and how do you I don't want to say give back necessarily, but how are you distributing what you're creating? And how can you not necessarily multiply it, but make it even bigger and reach even more people, and maybe reach even more hearts? Because I'm thinking about the 5th house now. The connection, the heart connection between the 5th house and the 11th house. So that is the nodal shift. The nodal shift is occurring on the 12th of January, and then we'll have the nodes here until July 26th. Now, the next one I want to talk about is Mars. Mars direct. So Mars is still in retrograde. While I'm recording this podcast, Mars is in retrograde. And depending on when you're listening to this, Mars might also still be in retrograde. But Mars stations direct in February, the end of February. And what does that mean for your sign? Well, Mars is your co-ruler, first of all, right? So this is an important transit for you. And Mars regains momentum in the areas of career and purpose, right? Leo is your 10th house. And I think you might have been, most likely, you might have been not fully clear of what's going to be next. Maybe you love what you're doing, maybe you don't love what you're doing, but either way, you might have not been fully clear what exactly is the next step, where exactly, you want to take all of it. Also, the Mars is retrograding in Cancer, which is your 9th house. Now, there is a trine here. I think the transit in Cancer is, even though Cancer is not the most beloved sign of Mars, I think you have an affinity. You have an affinity to Cancer because it is your fellow water sign. So I think you can be able to relate to this area more, and so you handling Mars here might feel a little more natural to you. Also, of course, it depends where you have your own Mars. If you have your own Mars in a water sign, then this retrograde might have not felt harsh to you, or as harsh, right? But maybe you've became a little lazy, because that is often what happens. We become a little lazy because also we have, we just don't have a clear goal. We don't really know what's next. Now, the idea of the retrograde is us becoming more clear about where we want to go, what to do next, the next steps to take. And specifically the retrograde in Cancer asked you to explore all the things that nurture your soul. And by all the things, I'm talking about, maybe you were asked to read, or you were asked, and by you were asked, I mean internally, right? There's this urge of like, I want to learn about this. I want to know more about that. I want to know more about that. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with it, but I'm drawn to that. I'm drawn to this. And now with the forward motion, you're asked to put things into action. I think you are going to travel quite a bit, probably at the end of February, early March, or all of March, and then into April. I think this is going to be a time of you just wanting to get going again. Just let's go out there, because you know that this is something you can then utilize in your purpose work. Maybe you even have to travel for work a lot in the coming months, like early spring. But I think this is a beautiful time that you really should use for your personal growth and your career. Become clear what you want to do in this area. Really, like, take some time to yourself, away from everyone, and become clear. I don't believe we can be fully clear if we are constantly surrounded by others, because we are constantly surrounded by their energies and their ideas of what's right and what their ideas of what's wrong, and it is blurring our vision. And it doesn't mean that it can't inspire us in some shape or form. Yes, it can, but I think that the clarity comes with you just taking yourself out of there and just being your own energy. Now, next thing I want to talk about is Venus retrograde. Venus is going to start her retrograde cycle on March 1st or 2nd, depending on where you are in the world, and then cycle ends on April 12th or 13th. Now, this is a retrograde that covers two areas, two signs. We are going from Aries into Pisces, and the general effects of Venus retrogrades are, first of all, relationship reassessment. So our existing relationships might face some challenges. And by challenges, I mean, really, we are asking ourselves, what do we want now? We are reevaluating our commitments and our desires. Past lovers might show up, also past friends. And this is offering us an opportunity for either closure or renewal of the relationship. But when I say renewal, my focus is on new. Like, I don't believe you can start again where you ended it. It has to be the next level. You got to get going on another level together. Otherwise, you're just going to continue the cycle. And obviously that cycle didn't really work because it ended. Either the friendship ended or the love relationship ended. Now, financial reflection will probably also be part of it to some degree. And I think the most important part here is your self-worth evaluation, where you become clear, like I always said, what you want, your personal values, and also your self-worth, right? That understanding that I keep honing in on, that understanding of you are worthy, period. There is no you're worthy because you're this or that. No, you're worthy, period. And that, coming to that understanding really, truly, fully, deeply, is not a mental exercise. It's not something you can think yourself into. You got to feel yourself into that. And that may take some time. It takes a lot of time for some people, faster for others, but sometimes it takes us a lifetime to fully grasp that. Now, for you, this retrograde is going to be focused on your 6th house and your 5th house. So we are talking day-to-day routine and your health habits. They may need a revision. And then implementing self-care practices that really enhance your well-being. And also consider how your work life affects your personal relationships and what you do that you enjoy, like the joyful life. How does your day-to-day actually affect that? Next thing I want to talk about is Mercury. We're just going to do this really quick because there will be separate videos for these retrogrades. There are three Mercury retrogrades this year. The first one is on March 15th. And all the retrogrades will cover fire signs this year. So the Mercury retrogrades are going to come in hot and heavy. Two of them, the first one and the last one, also cover water signs, but the focus is on fire. So the heat is on. So your fire houses are going to be in the focus, and your fire houses are your 2nd house, your 6th house, and your 10th house. So we are talking worth and value, reevaluation of those values, your understanding of your financial well-being, your day-to-day routine, your health, what role does that play in, and how is that all of that then infecting or affecting your purpose work. Now, next up is Neptune in Aries. Now, this is a big transit. This is a big shift that we will experience this year, moving from major water and earth energy into fire and air energy. We'll still have a bit of water there, right? Because the nodes are, Pisces. We have Pisces, water and earth, with Virgo there. But I think the focus is clearly going to shift, and we will feel this focus, but particularly the middle of the year. We're going to sense that, and we're going to sense that in our own lives, and then, yes, it will show up in the collective. Now, what do I want to say about this transit? I think I call this transit the transit of spiritual leadership. And it is a bold new era of new visions for ourselves and for life, really, for our lives and then the life of the people that surround us. The transit starts March 13th. We will have a brief dip back into Pisces October 21st to February 26th, 2026. But really, I think with the ingress into Aries earlier this year in March, we'll get a good idea of what this whole transit is going to be about for us on a personal level. And maybe we might understand what this is going to be about on the collective level too. For you, this transit is in the area of your day-to-day routines, service, and health. So the 6th house is in the focus. I mean, I think the biggest focus for you this year is the 6th house. So really taking care of your health, your day-to-day routines, and asking yourself how you want to be of service in your life, and also how you actually do that from that deep inner knowing of why you came here, what you came here to do, right? Because the 6th house is deeply connected with the 10th house. Like what we do on a day-to-day level is really informing the purpose work, right? Like the purpose we have here. So with Neptune in the 6th house, you might be inspired to approach your work and health routines with a little more compassion and creativity. So maybe you realize, okay, I mean, I'm always exhausted. I need to shift and change something here in my work and in the way I view my health and my wellness. Maybe, you need more, you need a day-to-day workout routine. You need more massages. This is also a great time to integrate those holistic practices. But one thing I want to urge you here is it's really important to stay grounded, because there's so much fire energy here, right? And you are like a very fiery person in the sense of how you live your life, right? When you go, you go. When you don't go, you don't go, right? You're on and off. You're not like a little bit. You come in all the way hot and heavy when you do something. So you got to make sure you have routines in place that help you to stay grounded and avoid burnout. Then another transit in the same area is Saturn. Saturn is coming in this year. And I think this is a time for bold commitments and really focused action. For you, again, this is the 6th house. And I think Saturn in particular is encouraging you to establish more discipline in your life, disciplined habits that support your physical, mental, and also emotional health. And this transit also highlights the importance of a meaningful work and a more structured approach to your day-to-day life. And I'm smiling because I have a lovely Scorpio Rising in my life that I've just talked about this particular thing with. We just talked about this, right? Like, because that person is very unstructured and they just do or they don't do. And they find it very hard to find structure in their life because it's all fire, right? It's all fire there. And we're either on, the fire is either on or it's off. It's and when it's on, it's like it's on. It just, it's really, how do you structure it? How do you keep it in line so it doesn't burn down the house? How do you make sure when you put on the fireplace, that you have a cover in front of the fireplace so the fire stays in place. So you have to, I think it's important for you to really find ways to channel that fire, because it is so beautiful. It's so beautiful. It's so magnetic too. I mean, you see these people in action. But again, you've got to make sure you're not burning yourself out. Then the last two transits I want to talk about, first one, Uranus and Gemini, my favorite transit of the year, because for me, this is the evolution of consciousness. Uranus, the planet of innovation and rebellion, breakthroughs, moves into the sign of communication, intellect, and adaptability. And I think this is going to ignite profound shifts when it comes to the way we think, the way we connect, the way we innovate. And for you, this transit is going to occur in the 8th house. Now, the 8th house governs transformation and shared resources. So Uranus here may bring financial upheavals, like ups and downs. Maybe like, you make money really, really quickly, but then you burn it really quickly too. So here you got to really make sure you have structures in place. We talked about structures earlier, right? Like you want to have structures in place for everything in your life where you make sure you're not, again, on and off and burn things quickly, because air fuels fire. So Uranus moves into an air sign and we have all that fire energy. And for you, that fire energy is like on in the 6th house of your day-to-day routine. So make sure you're not burning out and you're not burning the money just like that. I'm not saying you shouldn't have fun with your money, please, by all means, but just make sure that you also grow it. I think there's also going to be deep inner changes that you might have not seen coming, and breakthroughs also in intimate relationships. Maybe you're taking something to the next level there. The last thing I want to say about this transit is it starts July 7th. We're going to have a quick dip back into Taurus in November, from November to April 2026. But really, we are getting going here with Uranus in Gemini, and you will sense this energy strongly. I think every time a planet dips into a sign for the first time, it makes itself known. And the shift from, having this energy in one sign, that Uranus energy in one sign for so long, and then all of a sudden it's in a different element, it's impossible not to sense that shift in your life. Now, last thing I want to talk about is Jupiter in Cancer. Now, Jupiter moves into one of his favorite signs, Cancer, in June 9th, 2025. And it leaves Cancer for Leo in June 13th, 2026. So we've got them there for a year. And during this period, the emphasis will be on nurturing relationships, exploring your emotional needs, and also cultivating a sense of security in all areas of life. For you, this transit falls into the 9th house. Now, I think for you particular, this is a time of exploration and expansion. So you may travel and study. And study doesn't mean you have to go to school, right? We can study in all shapes or forms, right? But there is going to be, I think, a time of deep surrender to learning something new. And like I already said, you may travel much more. And I think this might also be related to your purpose work, to what you do, the traveling. And you may travel to places you haven't been before. I think that's going to be something very exciting. Like you're probably going to maybe also explore a whole different culture here. Maybe you've always maybe you live, I don't know, you live in Europe and you've always been going to America. Maybe now you're going to the Middle East. That is just an example. So like it's a completely different culture. That's what I see for you here. Now, if you have any questions about any of these transits, please feel free to ask. If you have any other questions, you can also leave me a comment in the comment section. And anything else, I'm here for you. I wish you a beautiful 2025 with lots of learnings, lessons, growth, love, health, and abundance. And I will talk to you in the next video.